it is clear to me that we cannot prevent an Iranian nuclear bomb under the decaying and rotten structure of the current agreement. The Iran deal is defective at its core.
President Trump's decision this week to leave the Iran nuclear accord drawing a mixed reaction on Capitol Hill, with Democrats largely condemning the president's decision, claiming it would trigger a nuclear crisis, or could, and lead to even greater tensions in the Middle East. Republican Ron Johnson of Wisconsin is a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. He joins me now from beautiful Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Senator, good to have you with us. Thanks for coming in. Do you agree with the president's decision on Iran?
I do. The world is less safe because of the Iranian agreement that funneled about $100 billion plus into not only the economy, but even worse, the military of the largest state-sponsored terror. And we've seen how they've used that money to destabilize Yemen, to destabilize Syria, provide Hezbollah more support. They're starting to lob rockets into Israel.
Right.
And the deal did nothing to stop their ballistic missile technology advancement either. So I would say the Iranian agreement made the world less safe. So getting out of it will give us the opportunity to ratchet up sanctions and hopefully come up with a better deal. Are
you worried at all, though, about the rift with Europe? Because they're disappointed, obviously, with the president's decision. They said so in a statement. You know, you could have some more transatlantic tensions, particularly you've already fighting over tariffs on steel and aluminum. Does that concern you at all?
Sure. I'm concerned. We want to have a strong relationship with our NATO allies and our European friends as well. I mean, it's the Western democracy that has kept peace and security throughout the world. We need to hang together. But the fact of the matter is those same countries, Britain, France, Germany, knew full well when President Obama entered this unilaterally, did not consult with Congress, didn't ratify this through the treaty process, that agreement was really worth no more than the paper it was written on, and they're recognizing that right now. So hopefully French President Macron is certainly talking about working out a better deal, and that's the better attitude to take.
So if such a deal did come to fruition, adding a couple of the provisions that you mentioned before, like the sunset provision and intrusive inspections, do you think that you guys in the Senate would be able and willing to put those provisions into your legislation that monitors and calls for review of the Iran nuclear accord? That's Corker-Cardin. Do you think you could get bipartisan support to do that?
Well, I guess what I'd rather do is come up with a new deal and send it through ratification of the Senate. Had President Obama done that, first of all, the Iranian agreement would have been far better and might have stood the test of time. It certainly would have had bipartisan support. And so that's the danger in any president acting unilaterally, doing these executive agreements that are clearly rise to the level of treaties and not really going through that ratification process.
All right,
so I'd much rather see President Trump come up with a new deal and have it ratified by the Senate.
All right, that's very interesting, because obviously the Senate treaty, you got to have 67 votes. With Corker-Cardin, you'd only have to have 60 votes. So you'd have to get, President Trump would have to get an enormous number of Democrats to sign on to that kind of a deal.
Well, during the Corker-Cardin debate, the Iranian Agreement Act, I think it was called, the first amendment we voted on was mine, which would have deemed that a treaty.
I remember.
Now, Paul, from my standpoint, if senators really were upholding their oath of office and defending the Constitution, that amendment should have passed 100-0. But it didn't. We actually had Republicans lobbying against it, unfortunately. But again, from my standpoint, something so significant certainly is a treaty, and it should be ratified, and we would be in a far better place today had he done that.
What's the mood, generally speaking, in the Senate about this withdrawal decision? I mean, the Democrats, I remember when you had this debate, there was bipartisan opposition, even among Democrats, some opposed. I think Chuck Schumer voted against it, or he was opposed to it. In some of the crucial votes on Capitol Hill. But now Democrats say, well, we should stay in anyway. What's changed?
Well, they circled the wagons even back then to end up passing the Corker-Cardin Agreement Act. But from my standpoint, I think a lot of people are ambivalent. I could have actually argued this both ways. Stay in the agreement, try and strengthen it. we've already given up all of our leverage. There's, you know, the fiction of snapback sanctions was just that. It was a fiction. There's no way you're going to get the $100 billion plus back.
Right.
And there's no way to put Iran's behavior back in the bottle. So, you know, you can argue this both ways, but I have no problem with what President Trump has done, you know, particularly if we start ratcheting up sanctions at this point in time. You know, Prime Minister Netanyahu made a very strong case that when you see these spontaneous demonstrations in Iran, you know, obviously that money's not flowing in their economy for the benefit of the Iranian people. And you know, this is probably a pretty good point in time to start really ratcheting up pressure on the Iranian regime.
All right, just another quick subject. Gina Haspel, are you going to vote to confirm her as CIA director, and you think she's going to be confirmed?
I'm absolutely going to support her, and you know, hopefully she will be confirmed.
You think she's going to be confirmed?
Well, you know, again, there's talk within even our conference. It was not helpful. Senator McCain came out against her. Again, I've got a great deal of respect for Senator McCain, but that was not helpful in terms of her confirmation.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Senator. I appreciate your being here.